Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. If not, I think my the committee will remind me about this. So, yeah, as you can watch it from the video. So let me try to introduce some of the important rules for today and also our speaker. So we are very happy to have Professor Dr. Argel Masanda from National University Philippines, Baliwag campus. Prof. Argel is a full professor and the program chair of the Department of Psychology of NUP Baliwag campus. He is also a practicing counselor and psychometrician in the field of drug abuse and rehabilitations. So the topic that Prof. Argel is going to share with us is intersecting positive psychology and forensic psychology, theories and the practice. So as you know, because actually we try to celebrate the International Happiness Day, so we are going to try to explain how positive psychology can really intersect or integrate with forensic psychology. So you are welcome to post your question under the chat box, okay? And we will invite Prof. Argel to answer your inquiry after, okay, his talk. So please don't feel shy to ask any question, as it is a really, really precious chance to have Prof. Argel with us today. So without further ado, let's welcome Prof. Argel.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to all of you.
Hello, Prof. Argel.
Hello, Suwan. Thank you so much for your introduction. Okay, it makes me more nervous actually, but
don't feel that. We are really happy to have you with us right now. We are so excited.
Thank you so much. I'm also excited. Before I begin, I'd like to thank first, of course, Dr. C.S. Tan, Chiseng Tan, for the opportunity, okay, for the invite that he gave me to be part of this International Happiness Day. And I couldn't be happier, definitely, to be part of this. So when CS messaged me about it, I automatically said yes, okay, that I'd like to participate, of course, in event like this. Okay, so I'd like to thank as well Mr. Andrew. I hope you're listening somewhere, okay, for agreeing to swap schedule with me. I had an immediate, okay, and unforeseen schedule. I didn't know that I need to travel, okay, so I just arrived actually in our hotel room just this very moment, okay, and which makes me again more excited to deliver something for all of you. Okay, so without further ado, let me share my screen. There. Okay, so the topic that I'll be discussing to all of you is about how are we going to intersect positive psychology and forensic psychology. So basically, we'll be discussing about the theory and practice of this intersection between the two fields of psychology. When I saw the lineup of topics, I got this impression that my topic is the most technical, okay, of all the topics. And the others are actually quite more practical. And in my case, it's something technical, but I hope I'm going to make it tidbits for you. Okay, when I say tidbits, something that is easily digestible, and I'll do my best to make this as interactive, okay, as possible. So with that, let me share to you the outline of my presentation. So I'll be discussing, of course, some introduction about the topic, and we are here right now. Later, I'll be throwing some series of questions that I'll invite everyone. Okay, so far we have 34 participants in this room. So I hope the 34 or more, okay, will be participating. And then the theory behind the praxis, okay, the theory behind the intersection between forensic psychology and positive psychology, and practice based on the theory. Now, if we're going to intersect them and merge them together, there should be some practical application of this theoretical understanding. So that's what we're going to give focus on in the third part. And on the last one, of course, some epilogue, okay, and some conclusion about the topic, and some Q&A. Okay, so before you ask me series of questions, I'll be the first one to ask you series of questions, okay, for the time being. So this is part of the introduction that I'm inviting everyone to participate, okay? So please bear with me. Just a quick survey. We are all psychology practitioners here, or at least the others are enthusiasts when it comes to the practice of psychology. And how do we do our job? So basically, we ask series of questions. Okay, so this is my first question. Which face comes closest to how you feel this morning? Okay, so I have here 7 smiley faces. It's just inverted in score. Okay, 7 would be the saddest and 1 would be the happiest. So how do you feel this morning? You may use our chat box. Okay, our meeting chat. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much for those who answered. Okay, 2, 3, 2. All right. Okay, keep it coming. Okay, so far what I'm seeing is around 2, 3, and 4. Okay, thank you. Just bear with me. Okay, we're gonna get to our point in a while. Next question. How about your work or academic life? So if you're working, how's your work life? If you're a student, how's your academic life? Or if you're a little bit of both, how's both for you? Okay, the work and the acad life together. All right. So I'm seeing 2, 3, 5. Okay. How about the others? Okay, so I haven't seen a 1 score yet so far, and also neither 6 or 7. So we are somewhere in the middle, 2 to 5. Okay, thank you. Next question. How's your relations to people? Okay, people in general. So no specific group of person or people, but people in general. All right. 2, 3, 4. Okay, keep them coming. All right. So majority are within the 3. Okay, thank you. Next question. How's your love life? Please bear with me. Okay. So, oh, Brittany is 0. So she has a very, very happy love life, I believe. Okay. 2, 2, 2. All right. So take note that the highest score here is only 7. Okay. So no 8, 9, 10. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Uh-huh. How about the others? Come on. Okay, thank you. Okay, next. My next question is perhaps the most controversial, but bear with me again. Okay. How's your sex life? Hee. How's your sex life? Let me see. Let me see. There we go. Okay. Non-existent. Okay. It's a hee. It's a. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next item. How's your financial life? Oh, I think this is my most favorite question here. How's your financial life? Let me see. Okay, so there's a 2. There's 1. Okay. Hello there. L-O Uyutar Kampar. Okay, 1. Prop, can you hire me? All right. So so far we have a score of 1. Okay, that person is scored 1. He or she is the person that I'd like to be friend with. I'm quite friendly person. I love a friend who has a lot of money. I'm just kidding, okay? Just kidding. Oh, there, sure. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, or ma'am. Okay, I don't know if it's a ma'am or a sir, but thank you so much. But of course, kidding aside, I'd like to be friends with everyone. Okay, so I'm just making fun of the finances as, a very exciting part of the friendship itself. All right, there. Thank you, thank you. Okay, next question. I think I'm down to the last one. Life as a whole. So, how do you assess your life as a whole? Putting all things together, those things I asked, including those I did not. How are you going to assess your life as a whole? All right, thank you. 3, 2, okay. So I'm seeing answers between 3 and 2 here. Okay, quite happy. All right. How about the others? Okay. Thank you. Now, let's process what we went through. Okay, so main reason why I ask those kinds of questions is because I'd like to assess what we call the well-being. And of course, well-being is something that us in the field of psychology wants to improve, wants to um, um, put it on the highest level. Okay, we want to flourish rather than to languish. And definitely, we want it to be within the 1 to 3. Okay, I'm quite happy that majority of you answered within this range. But take note that it's not always on the 1, 2, 3. There are moments in our lives that we could be on the 4, 5, 6, or 7, or sometimes it's even worse than 7. Okay, and well-being, take note, it's an important component of a good mental health. Okay, and for all. It should be for all. So what do I mean for all? Including those people who have committed some crimes, including those people who use drugs, including those people who actually needs to be rehabilitated in terms of their personhood, okay? Because they cross the line and been able to, be put in prison, to say the least. Okay, so when we advocate for mental health, take note that we are not only advocating for the mental health of the free people, we are also advocating mental health for those people who are incarcerated, who have committed some crimes, some who have broken some law, or those people who actually use illicit drugs. Okay, in my experience, in my practice, a lot of people, especially in the field of psychology, would actually think through it like a one-way mirror. Okay, the well-being is only for those who are not afflicted with some uh, crimes, okay, or with some problems, okay, that conflicts with the law. So what I'm trying to say here is that the forensic side of psychology invites everyone to actually advocate for the well-being of everyone, including the forensic clients. And our aim is for them to have a well-being between the 1, 2, and 3. Because we know for sure that people who cross line within the law and the legal system are actually problematic, because if you are not problematic, you should have not crossed the line. So that invites us the idea that these people would actually require more rehabilitative services, more mental health services compared to those who are normally functioning. Okay, so that kind of idea gave me now the inspiration to actually, why not look at how positive psychology would actually cross through in dealing with the forensic clients. Okay, so that's the running idea that we have here. Now, let's look at our different theoretical frameworks in terms of our dealings together with the or dealings with the forensic clients. So when we say forensic clients, these are the people who cross line, okay, who cross the boundary that made them essential, okay, when it comes to the provisions of the law and the legal system, okay, because we need to control them in some degree. So in the classic pathologic model, we look at these people as someone problematic. But we have this argument that why not try to look at them in a more positive light? So that's where our first theoretical framework comes in. Okay, of course, we have here the positive psychology. Okay, so positive psychology, just a brief background about it. It focuses on developing strengths and virtues that enable people to thrive. So take note that when we talk about it, we do not just want to survive. We want us to actually thrive. Okay, we also have the humanistic psychology. Through this, it emphasizes growth and potentials for self-actualization and well-being. And lastly, closely related to it is, of course, the existential psychology, wherein it accentuates capacity for self-improvement as part of the human process of becoming. So these very positive frameworks that we have in positive in psychology, rather in general, their application for those who are afflicted with some cases is not oftentimes emphasized. That's why forensic psychology seems to be a completely another end of the spectrum when it comes to the fields of practice in psychological interventions. So forensic psychology, as broadly defined by Bartol, okay, and Bartol in 2019, is a field of psychology that deals with all aspects of human behavior as it relates to the law or legal system. Take note, it's quite encompassing here all aspects of human behavior as it relates to the law or legal system. So whatever it is that actually coincide with the specific law and legal system that we have in a specific place, forensic psychology is at work. Okay. Another definition is that it is the development and application of scientific knowledge and methods to help answer legal questions arising in criminal, civil, contractual, or other judicial proceedings. Of course, it's quite complicated when we put the legal system, okay, and the specific laws when it comes to understanding human behavior. And that's where psychology gives light, okay, and provides significant knowledge and learnings to the law and the legal system in order for them to better judge a human person. Okay, so now for me to become more specific, okay, the need for the intersection between the two fields, forensic psychology and positive psychology. Okay, so since I'm a Filipino, okay, here in the Philippines, the recent administration in our country was in drug war, okay, during, yeah, that the last administration of Duterte. So hence, forensic clients like the PWUDs, okay, so we're gonna operationally call them PWUDs, or persons who use drugs, who are in plea bargaining agreement, need psychologically oriented services. In the last 6 or 7 or 8 years or so here in the Philippines, a lot of Filipino people were actually killed, okay, because of the illicit drug use. There's a lot of, well, this is debatable, but there are proven facts, okay, that there were extrajudicial killings. So meaning there were people here who did not go to correct judicial process, and they were just executed somewhere there in the street. So they were just killed just because someone said that they were actually using drugs. Okay, so a lot of PWUDs back then surrendered to the government, okay, through the plea bargaining agreement, provided that they will undergo a minimum of 6 months psychological therapy so that they'll be helped. And we were so happy that the government actually took that kind of um, uh, approach when it comes to dealing with the PWUDs. That is where the need for this study actually originated. Okay, and to be more specific, drug abuse treatment and rehabilitation centers during that time until now invites for an eclectic approach to treatment and rehabilitation. So here in the Philippines, we have the medically based treatment, then also the therapeutic community treatment, and of course, the cognitive behavioral therapy treatments. And the approach using a positive psychology as a framework in treating, okay, those drug users is virtually non-existent. Hence, the need for the intersection. Okay. Further, restorative and rehabilitative justices may benefit significantly from a humanistic rather than punitive approaches. Hence, another reason why we need to actually use positive psychology as a framework. Okay. And lastly, in terms of the global literature, the application of positive psychology in drug treatment and rehabilitation is relatively scant, and only a handful of studies were conducted in the last 10 years. Okay, so that was latest on 2017. And still at this very moment, there's not quite a lot of literature that uses positive psychology as their framework when it comes to drug abuse treatment and rehabilitation. Okay, now in terms of those people here, the PWUDs, okay, in a country, and in terms as well of other literatures that we have gathered, there were some predisposing factors, and I'd like to frame it using a psychological framework. So there are the intrapersonal dynamics. These actually are the factors that originated from within the PWUD's personal functioning, or for some, malfunctioning and the psychologically driven needs. Another one is the interpersonal dynamics, refers to those factors related to the PWUD's interaction or lack thereof with other people. And lastly, the milieu-related dynamics or the environmental factors, so to speak. These are the factors that refer to the PWUD socio-economic environment that beset their efforts to combat or that prompts them to use illicit drugs. Okay, so these three different dynamics are some of the predisposing factors among the PWUDs that actually made them cross the line and became forensic clients. Okay. Now, some studies that were conducted that I facilitated. This is actually my dissertation. My dissertation is in forensic psychology, and I'm quite happy to share to all of you that I'm the very first Filipino professional to earn a degree in forensic psychology. And in earning the degree in my dissertation, I use positive psychology as my framework. Okay, so in the stage one or slash the study one, I did some needs assessment, and there were a lot of factors that were seen. Some of those are the one that I just shared to you, the predisposing factors. Then the stage two is about program designing. The stage three was a pilot study. This was a quasi-experimental, the pilot study. And then the last study is the validation. This one I did a true experiment. So as to assess whether the PPI, the Positive Psychology Intervention Program, or PWUDs are actually effective. Okay, now let me go through that quite fastly, and we'll focus more on its implication. Okay, so the PPI for PWUDs, so I was able to design 14 session programs. Okay, there are 14. So let me go through this one by one. The first session, institution, this is the initial session. Here we had some orientation and this designation of the control and treatment groups, and of course the psychological pre-testing. Then stage two is about self-acceptance through forgiveness. The activity that I did is about cultivating forgiveness, okay, through positive psychology. Then the personal strength on, these are the target character strengths, personal strength on the third session, using strength approach to build perspective taking capacity. Then conformity, the ASH experiment, breaking down conformity to improve independent thinking. And then about sadness, which was facilitated through positive emotions. So I had two activities here. Spiral happiness, how positive emotion broaden and build, okay? And then happiness promotion using mindful imagery to increase positive emotion. Then on the sixth session, the target character strength was about self-esteem. Then the title of the strategic activity was about rebuilding self-esteem beyond drug addiction. Okay, going forward, on the seventh session, we have self-regulation, managing the self and emotion to combat drug addiction. Then assertiveness training for forensic clients. Then we had the motivation, internalized motivation in spite of addiction. Then belongingness, relationships, capitalizing on positive events with our kapwa. The term kapwa is a local Filipino terms that related to the idea of other people, but these other people are important to you. So in our Filipino psychology, other people are not basically others, but they are actually the extension of yourselves, of ourselves rather. Okay. Then on the 11th session, we have the openness to change, engaging activities to inculcate openness and change management, and then patience, teaching patience for forensic clients. Then hope and gratitudes, taking care of business with gratitude. And last, the hope, okay? Hope projects to one's future self. And the last session, the dissolution, we had, of course, some psychological post-testing and debriefing and closure. Okay, so all in all, this program is facilitated within 3 months. Okay, at least one, preferably one session per week. Okay, this is an adjunct session on top of the existing sessions that the treatment and rehabilitation centers are already actually providing for the PWUDs. Okay, so in terms of the validity, okay, content validity of the design program, it rated highly viable in 4 different criteria in terms of utility, feasibility, accuracy, and propriety. Okay. And in terms of the validation, so it shows here that there were significant changes in terms of the overall psychological functioning, life satisfaction, and mental well-being of the PWUDs who were in the experimental group compared to those who are in a control group. Okay, so it gives now the emphasis that the program was indeed quite effective, at least among those selected participants. I had here at the end, so the N is 12. Okay, now let's look at the implication. So what now that we have learned about, or that we were able to actually assess, okay, eruditely, academically, the intersection between positive psychology and forensic psychology. Okay, so in terms of the PWUDs, this is the things that we discover, okay, or something that we would like to be emphasized. So the persons who use drugs are best understood as persons imbibed with goodness and cloaked potentials resulting from drug addiction. Thus, intently cultivating the drug reformist or the PWUDs, okay, other term would be PWUDs, character strengths, and purposefully crafting valuable virtues in and for themselves through an informed PPI. PPI is Positive Psychology Intervention Program, allows for an avenue to venture more on what is right and good about them rather than their opposites, thereby assisting them not only to survive substance use, but to even thrive in their lives. Okay, so once we use the positive psychology lens in looking at the clients within the forensic setting, we are able to see goodness rather than a classic pathological viewpoints that we usually have among forensic clients like the PWOODs. Okay, going forward on the PPIs that we use, or that we developed rather and validated. So the inclusion of a PPI using strength congruent and competency-based activities in drug abuse treatment and rehabilitation is an emergent and burgeoning trend in contemporary psychotherapeutic practices. It is evident that a positive psychological program that targets harnessing specific character strengths and values is beneficial and practical for PWOODs. Indeed, utilizing positive activity interventions, okay, those are the specific activities within the PPI, are proactive means of inculcating positive changes in the overall psychological functioning of the PWOODs. And on the PPI program, still, the developed and validated PPI program for PWOODs is efficacious, viable, and functionally responsive. It is instrumental in fostering positive psychological competencies for the PWOODs and ushered them to further self-development and empowerment. It has also equipped them with the necessary psychologically relevant capacities to transcend healthily in their treatment and rehabilitation. Most suggestively, it has promoted the PWOODs with various opportunities towards personal flourishment. Okay. I forgot to mention earlier, I had a lot of qualitative data as well in those 4 series of studies. And if you're going to read them one by one, it's going to, you know, melt your heart, to say the least. Okay, because there are a lot of positive realizations that the PWOODs actually got throughout the program. Okay, now on positive psychology in general. So positive psychology is an effective framework in psychotherapeutic intervention setting for the PWOODs, substantially focusing and delving more into the positive aspect of the drug reformists, otherwise called PWOODs, rather grim experiences, invite them toward the direction of psychological good life. Hence, looking at drug addiction using a more positive lens instead of a classic pathologic model that I have been mentioning creates constructive and caring attitudes that can facilitate the path to healing through systematic rehabilitative program. Okay, and in terms of the intersectionality between the two fields, the intersection of positive psychology and forensic psychology, both as fields and approaches to human science, is a viable, practical, and proactive undertaking in drug abuse treatment and rehabilitation. Moreover, it is an active and burgeoning trend, okay, just like what we have mentioned, in contemporary psychotherapeutic undertakings. And on its contribution to the field of psychology in general, So since this study is arguably a pioneering work, at least here in the Philippine setting, relatively new and swiftly emerging, especially again in the country, Philippines, it sets the pace for how future-related works will be framed and conducted. Hence, it is significant stride and contribution of knowledge through these findings that enrich both positive psychologists and forensic psychologists scholarship and academe, thereby highlighting and paving both theory and practice of positive forensic psychology. Okay, this is the term that I made use, okay, to describe what we gone through over the last 2 to 3 years. Okay, so on positive forensic psychology, quote unquote, okay, is a neo-contemporary concept based on the fusion of positive psychological science and forensic psychological contexts. It is a systematic and empirical application of positive psychology. It is a systematic and empirical application of positive psychology in the forensic psychological setting that aims to harness, um, sorry, seems to harness the forensic client's mental well-being, life satisfaction, and overall psychological functioning. Okay, like the affective, behavioral, and cognitive through strength congruent and meaning-based programs. Okay. I'm towards the end of my presentation. There. Okay. So one last question. How are you feeling right now? So earlier I saw your answers between 2, 3, and 4. How about at the moment? There. Okay. Thank you, Brittany. Okay. And the others? Okay, I'm quite happy that I see a 1 now. Okay, thank you for that, sir or ma'am. Okay, because that's our goal. Okay, to help everyone to be on the 1, 2, 3. Again, it might not always be on the 1, 2, 3. There are moments that we are on the 4, 5, 6, and 7, but that doesn't mean that we have to stay in that position. Okay, in a life, we have to exert more effort to be on the 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if there's anything that I can help you with, I would like to establish some connection, okay, with everyone or with anyone who are interested, okay, in some way about the things that I have presented. You can contact me in my email address, personal email address, argelmasanda@gmail.com, or in my WhatsApp, +63 9354938 991. Okay, so I'd like to end it with this quotation that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it, by Albert Schweitzer. And indeed, it is. Okay, I hope I was able to deliver something fruitful and meaningful. Yeah, I was able to deliver it within 30 minutes. Thank you. Okay, and thank you everyone for listening. Okay, so we have more time perhaps for our Q&A, if there's any. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Arjun. So yeah, let me adjust. Okay. Thank you, Prof. Arjun. Arjun, it's really an interesting topic. I think it's because of we have limited time to actually. I think there are more things that definitely, based on your experience, you can really share a lot of others information with us just because we have limited time. So I can see you are actually rushing for us. So thank you very much. And I have to apologize, because of the limited time. So we
It's
can't really
okay. No problem. No problem,
get too much.
Suwan.
Yeah, so maybe now is a Q&A sessions. While waiting for the questions, maybe let me check. Okay, so you can post your question under the chat box, or you can also raise your hand, not really hands physically, but there's a reactions in the Zoom. Okay, you can raise your hand, then our committee will try to check who is going to ask questions. Then you are going to allowed to speak, means we are going to unmute you, then you can ask questions. Okay, so while we are waiting for question, actually I have some it's not a question, it's like out of my curiosity. So I would like to ask, since Prof. Arjel, you're with us right now. So yeah, so I think I quite agree that, like, you Prof. Arjun, you mentioned just now, I also noticed that, as compared to the old times, like, many years ago, the methods that we try to deal with the youth, and, those drug user, about their drug addicts is just limited to the, punishment, punitive practice. But nowadays, actually, we focus more on the rehab and we try to apply positive psychologies on them as well. So
That's correct.
can you share with us, since you have a lot of experience on it, what's the biggest challenge for psychologists or counselor to conduct this kind of interventions or any plan to the other challenges you face before? Yeah, can you?
All right. So the question was, what are the challenges? Is that correct?
Challenges because when we try to apply it, is it like
Mm,
it's like when we most likely unless they approach you, but maybe some is like we will go to the rehab center,
that's
then
correct.
the office, the staff, the officer, the authority ask us to provide the interventions, but the youth or the drug user, maybe they have very low intention or willingness to join. So I'm thinking like actually what are the bigger challenges? I'm not sure for that one, so I would like to seek for your, you know.
Sure. Thank you so much, Suwan, for that. Indeed, it's true that nowadays we are gearing towards more into a more rehabilitative approach in terms of dealing with
Mm,
forensic clients. But the existing frameworks that we have, at least here in the Philippines, the rehabilitative frameworks were more social and cognitive in nature. Okay, so more on therapeutic communities, more on cognitive behavior therapy, but positive psychology is not yet in the picture. So that's why I made use of positive psychology. Now, the biggest challenge that I encountered before, I mean, when I first gave this to groups of forensic clients, unanimous of no no sorry all of them were males. Okay, they were males.
mm,
Majority of the forensic clients that I handled were males, and we have this masculine characteristic that going through some cheesy framework like that
mm,
is not something that they would prefer. Okay, so
mm,
it's quite a challenge for me to actually break it down and to actually let them be more open. Okay, so the challenge, basically, to answer it, the challenge was the participants were not open about this specific experience, because here you need to open up about what you feel, and you need to reassess, for example, your existing virtues, okay, your existing values, if it's actually helping you or not. And majority, if not all of them, were not so used in actually doing certain practices like that. So that's why it's quite a challenge that they would open to something like that. But when they did, it overflows quite a lot.
oh,
Okay, and sometimes it's actually overwhelming.
okay. Sounds very interesting. Yeah, when we try to deal with them, we thought this is something that I can just apply according to what I learned. But when we deal with them individually, or when we deal with the individual, there are some unexpected things might be
Mm,
happen. Yeah, let me see any. Actually, I received one question, but maybe he or she sends me a private message, maybe accidentally said it or something. It's about
sure.
any difference on the intervention effectiveness between the female and male, the uh drug user.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, any difference, or I think he or she is actually asking about the intervention effectiveness on female and on the males
All
youth.
right.
So
You
yeah.
know that I'm quite
Uh,
happy that that questions were actually raised,
mm,
because it's
mm,
one of my biggest recommendation for this study. Okay, for this framework, rather, the positive forensic psychology framework that we were able to use, is to have it applied actually among female participants. The major limitation I had, since this is a forensic setting, when
mm,
there's the law and the legal system involved, you really need to abide what is the rule. You really need to abide what is being given. And with the plea bargaining agreements, there have the rule there that male therapists can only deal with male clients. Okay, they cannot be
Oh,
mixed.
oh, okay.
Okay, so
Mm,
that's the reason why my participants in all subject areas, I mean, in all stages rather, okay, of the study, were all
mm.
males because I cannot handle female participants. So that's the biggest limitation that I have here, and that's not because intrinsically of the paper itself or the study itself, but because of the existing legal system. Okay, it bans me to actually handle female clients. So that's why it's the recommendation. But you know what? I'm quite happy to share to all of you that I'm already in talks with the executive branch of the government, the DDP, the Dangerous Drugs Board of the Philippines, to have this pilot for female participants. And we are already in talks that I'm going to train some uh, therapists, okay, handling female participants, okay, in the rehab centers so that they can deliver it. And we are opening some talks that perhaps this program, once they see that it is indeed valid, they can include it in the overall framework or program rather within that 6 months period, okay, across all rehab centers in the country.
Yeah, actually, we also invited a psychology officer, who is considered a government servant in Malaysia. So we have this kind of positions in the prisons. So yeah, so the psychology officer, last time when we invited him to have a talk with us, so he also shared some things like, that they also tried. I think this is quite interesting. Like they really can, he just kidding, maybe, like, we can actually try a lot of different kind of interventions on the prisoners. So that time that is something that he shared. And just of course they will follow the ethical things differently. Just
Correct.
it's not like, when you deal with the clients at the, not within the prisons. So maybe you need to get a lot of approvals, from another upper management or something, but they can really do different kind of ethical interventions there. So he also shared with me that he actually tried to propose pet therapy. Pet therapy means like,
Mm,
maybe you can, I think it's something that we can really like, because the topics today that Prof. Arjun try to share is like, we try to intersecting positive side and also forensic side. So the pet therapy is of course for those prisoners, but not necessarily drug addicts or so the PWUDs, but it's for others as well. So, but he sadly informed us that his idea is actually rejected, okay, by the management, by considering. Okay, try to imagine if you need to bring a dog or cat, inside a prison, maybe that is not that easy. So he actually said maybe we can try to at least have some pet, like even like
mm,
goldfish or something.
yeah.
So like, so actually I just wondering, like, is it other than some therapies or intervention that we have, like, in most of the research paper or in some, the book that we have, is it possible that we can also create or innovate or try to innovate, some different therapies to the PUF or to anyone's, can, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Uh,
also a very viable practice. And a very good curiosity that we have, especially for those practitioners within rehabilitation centers or even in the correctional facilities.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely,
Correctional. Mm.
yeah, correct. That's definitely the practice of forensic psychology, okay, in the correction setting, in the rehabilitation setting, and not only on the court setting, for example.
Mm.
So there, we deal with this basically, well, as they call, quote unquote, the hoodlums, okay, in
Oh,
our societies,
yeah,
that
yeah.
perhaps we can create some rehabilitative programs for them so that they'll be reformed and become functional members of the society. So it was and it is my idea that positive psychology definitely is one of the most viable frameworks that can be used so that we can
Mm.
tap into the natural capacities that people has.
Are you do you mind to share, any like in your country, like Philippines, because now since it's not we can't get this chance or opportunities easily to talk with of so maybe any you think like the special things or the culturally that is quite special with other country but is in apply actually in your country, the interventions or by considers the people's culture, the locals' cultures.
Hmm.
Is it like you have some taboo or something that you will avoid when you provide the interventions as well?
All right. That's a
Uh,
very good question. I'm quite happy that you raised that, Suwam. Okay. You know, what separates perhaps Filipinos compared to other Asian culture is
mm,
that the one that I mentioned earlier, the kapwa,
mm.
the term kapwa, okay,
Yeah.
Kapwa. Okay, so
Uh-huh.
kapwa is a local term that does not have a direct translation, okay,
Mm,
to English language. So because kapwa, if you're going to use it in a sentence, it can be translated as other people. Okay, something like that. It's like other
yeah.
people.
Mm,
But among the within Filipino psychology, we have here a field we call Filipino psychology. It's a offshoot of cultural psychology. Okay, and in Filipino
mm,
psychology, the definition of kapwa is not other people, but these are people that are basically extension of yourself. So what
mm,
makes it now different compare or not different, perhaps unique, okay, among people within Philippines compared to other Asian culture is that when you try to treat, okay, Filipino when it comes to their things that they are going through, you have to always look at his or her perspective in
mm.
terms of the importance of other people. Okay, so therefore it cannot be done that the highly individualistic approach is not
Mm.
very effective, okay, compared to a more collectivistic approach when it comes to at least rehabilitation program. That's why the TC, the therapeutic community intervention, is quite popular here in the Philippines.
I see. Okay, okay. Yeah, it really is quite a new things for me, yeah, definitely. Because I went to Philippines once on Cebu, but I never,
Hmm.
really have a chance because I attending a conference, really have a chance to really understand the cultures there. It's just a beautiful place for me. Then that's all. So yeah, really happy that you can share this with us. Let me check. I think as I can see, I think there's no much questions from them. Or let me
There's
see.
a question
Oh yeah,
here.
there's a questions. Yeah. May I know from who? May I know, is it possible to adapt and implement the positive psychology intervention that was conducted on people who use drug, others clients such as, okay, means apply, okay, the same things to, and what are the challenges will be with different people?
All right. Thank you so much, Wu, for that question. Definitely, the PPI, the positive psychology interventions, can be applied to those group of people. But the one that I designed here and that I presented to all of you, the
Mm,
PPI for PWUDs, are definitely tailor-made for those people who use drugs only. Okay.
mm,
As if you notice earlier, those 14 sessions that I presented, those are directly extracted from the psychologically driven needs that they have, that positive psychology can actually fulfill. So I believe the same procedure can be applied for those people with aggressive behavior
mm,
or the abusive people. Definitely, this is another area that requires, further
mm,
study. Okay, so I can see the
mm,
application is very viable. to answer the question, okay? But the one I presented is specifically tailor-made for people who use drugs. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Prof. Arjun. Is there any other questions? If yes, you can still pose it. Okay. Thank you, Wu, for the questions. Prof. Arjun, would you mind to go back to your slide deck with your uh, contact information? Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Just in case, maybe, some of them they want to catch it, but they haven't catch it before. So if you have further questions or, you are still digesting, the information for Prof. Arjun, maybe you can ask, maybe you can try to ask Prof. Arjun after that as well. So, and the recording of these sessions will be available in the, I think, in the website of Divisions of Positive Psychology. Yeah, I think the information will be shared under the chat box later. Okay. Prof. Arjun, do you have anything to share with us, or you have other things to ask us, or
I think I'm already good, and I just have gratitude to everyone. Okay, I'm quite happy that I'm given this chance to share this moment with all of you and share to you the results of those studies that I have conducted in the recent past. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think CS is raising his hand.
Oh, okay. Is it? Let me see.
Yes. I have a question for you,
Yeah.
Prof. Argel.
Sure. I'll do my best.
So, based on your experience, I'm thinking whether you can give us some suggestions or recommendations how we can integrate positive psychology interventions with other areas. Because you share with us how positive psychology can interact with the forensic psychology. What about other areas?
Okay, thank you, CS, for that. I'm trying to think out loud here, but it is my impression, at least initially, that positive psychology is quite, how to say that, compatible, okay, with majority of the areas in or subfields of discipline in psychology, except for, okay, abnormal psychology, okay, clinical psychology, and definitely forensic psychology. Okay, so that's why my curiosity lie there, that I want to use a positive psychological framework in looking at this rather abnormal behavior, okay, and our approach is clinical and our setting is forensic, so which makes our clients the forensic clients. Other areas of psychology, can you help me identify what other areas of psychology that positive psychology might not be very compatible? Because I think positive psychology is very compatible to a lot of areas, except of these areas that I mentioned, at least classically speaking.
Yes, I agree with you. That's why I asked you this question is like maybe based on your experiences, okay, so you can easily to see how we can expand it to other areas, not only the psychology, it could be other disciplines. So maybe you can give us some hints or some ideas so how we can integrate it.
All right, thank you so much for the clarification, CS. So another area that I am now eyeing to apply positive psychology framework is within the field of social work. Okay, the social work setting. So here in the Philippines, since I'm working in the drug abuse treatment rehabilitation setting for my studies, I deal with a lot of social workers. And of course, social workers are also mental health professionals, but their framework is definitely more social in context and more clinical again in approach. So actually, I'm designing a 2-day program at the moment for social workers using a positive psychology as their framework. So of course, we'll be introducing the PERMA V model, okay, the use of CSV, the characters, likes and values, etc., etc. So yeah, the first thing that came up to my mind with CS question is the area of social work. A lot of people who were abused or who would need social work interventions would, I think, benefit if the social worker has this kind of positive psychological framework as well. Yeah, thank you, CS, for that.
Thank you, Chishan, for the questions, and thank you, Prof. Arjun's try to answer our questions and patiently and with a lot of information. I think my Saturday is so meaningful because of you. Thank you so much. I really learned some things, and yeah, we
Thank
can
you so much as well.
try to learn, you try to link as well, because when we try to study positive psychology, we never think of, how it's going to link or how importance of positive psychology in different other aspect or industry as well. So definitely, yeah, you share a lot of information to us. So just let me touch. Okay. So I think thank you again. So maybe we can end our these sessions as we have another session at 3 o'clock or 3:10. I think it's 3:10. Okay, Prof. Arjun. Yeah, you can have your lunch now. But yeah, apologies. So, but
No problem. No apologies needed. I'm again. I'm all thankfulness. Okay, all gratitude for all of you. Hopefully, when the next year comes, we can do this face to face already. So that we can have a more personal approach to each and every one.
Yeah, it will be a very warm interactions, when we have physical meetings. Yeah.
That's correct. Again, thank you so much, everyone. Okay, I'm all thanks, okay, and goodness to all of you, and I really appreciate the 1 hour moment that we have here. Thank you, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sias. Thank you, Suwan, Brittany, and all the rest. Thank you, thank you. Goodbye.
Much.
Okay, so thank you, Prof. Argel and Dr. Gans again. And ladies and gentlemen, okay, before we move to the next sections to learn about positive psychology from Professor Dr. Intan Hashima, let us take a 10-minute break. All right, so the next sections will start at 10 minutes past 3. So please stay tuned, and I look forward seeing you guys in the next sections.